Late night show appearances can get celebrities into a lot of trouble, and sadly some celebrities even destroyed their careers while on late night shows. Before we get into part 4, I wanted to let you know we are launching a new channel on Friday called Where Are They Now, where we'll be diving into celebrities you might have forgotten about or what happened to a celebrity after a messy scandal. It's gonna be really juicy, so you definitely don't want to miss it. Make sure to subscribe in the link below. In at number 10, Lady Gaga. While on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, Lady Gaga was involved in an embarrassing blunder. While the show was filming from home due to the pandemic, Jimmy called Gaga for a segment they were going to do on his show. He was live on air at the time of the call, but Gaga did not get the memo and answered the call as if she was not on live TV at that moment. When she answered the phone, she immediately said, quote, "I can't, Jimmy, I can't talk right now, I'm really sorry, it's just a really weird time." Jimmy then turned his phone towards the camera to show Gaga that she was on camera at this very moment. She was super confused and asked if she was on camera, which she totally was. But she still did not take the hint, and when he asked her about upcoming projects, she replied, quote, "I can't tell you everything right now because I'm still ironing out the details. I have a lot of phone calls to make, can I call you Friday?" Then she basically just hung up and Jimmy was forced to improvise to fill the time. I think Gaga's assistant should be fired for not filling her in. And at number 9, Kris Jenner. Kris Jenner has been on television for over a decade since the start of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Because of the family's success on their show, the sisters got spin-off shows like Kourtney and Khloe Take Miami and Life of Kylie. But Kris's TV venture sadly did not work out. Back in 2013, Kris revealed her newest venture was a daytime talk show that she would be hosting. It felt like it would be a smash hit, but sadly it was not, and the show was scrapped after 6 episodes. The initial 6 shows were meant to be a test run to see if it would become a real deal show or not. Sadly, after the 6 episodes, it was not renewed. According to The Hollywood Reporter, a Fox exec said that, quote, "Kris Jenner was uninteresting." They said, quote, "When the camera was on, she looked not just like a deer in the headlights, but like a deer that already got hit." That's definitely not what you want to hear when you're hosting a talk show. The show was a dream come true for Kris, but sadly she had to face failure when it was not successful. And at number 8, Amber Rose. Watch What Happens Live host Andy Cohen hosts one of the juiciest shows on TV right now, where guests will get drunk and talk about gossip on live TV. While doing an interview about his show, he was asked who the worst guest he ever had on. Andy replied that it was Amber Rose. Apparently she refused to answer questions that might make her look bad, so the whole thing was super awkward because Andy had to improvise on the spot. Again, this is live TV, so it's not fun when things go off course. Andy told E! News, quote, "She didn't want to answer any of my shady questions. She turned to me, she goes, quote, 'Am I a horrible guest?' I go, 'You are in the running for one of the worst guests we've ever had.'" And at number 7, Rick Ross. Late night host James Corden revealed who his least favorite guest was, and he exposed it was the rapper Rick Ross. While James was filming his segment Spill Your Guts or Fill Your Guts, he was asked the question. James was debating whether to answer or not, but then he blurted out Rick Ross. Apparently while Rick was on the show, he refused to do tons of the segments that he previously agreed to, which left James and his team scrambling for replacements. James said, quote, "We sent the stuff to Rick's people, and Rick had seen it, loved it, and was so excited to do it. Rick Ross came and sat here, and we did the whole thing about binging Netflix with rapping." And Rick goes, quote, "Cool, I'm just gonna go to the restroom." Then about 20 minutes later, we just stood there and he hadn't come back. Then his management person came back and went, "Yeah, Rick's not gonna do that." James obviously didn't appreciate that he was blindsided, and he was not asked back. And at number 6, Olivia Jade. Olivia Jade became a household name after her famous parents were convicted of bribing her and her sister's way into prestigious university, USC. Olivia had become an influencer in her own right and documented her life on YouTube and Instagram. Through her work as an influencer, she even got collaborations with brands like Sephora, but that all came crashing down when it was exposed that she was a fraud and faked her way into college, pretending to be a rower. After taking months offline, she started her apology tour on the show Red Table Talk. This is a show hosted by the Smith family members, Jada Pinkett Smith and Willow Smith. After the interview, many felt that they couldn't accept Olivia's apology. Olivia said she didn't think anything was wrong when her parents were telling her to lie her way in because everyone in her circle was doing similar things to secure a spot. Olivia said at the time she did not realize her privilege. One of the hosts of the show, Adrian Banfield Norris, called the interview frustrating. She said, quote, "I just found it really ironic that she chose 3 black women to reach out to for her redemption story. I feel like here we are, a white woman coming to a black woman for support, but we don't get the same from them." Also adding that as a 21-year-old woman, Olivia should have known what her parents did was wrong. Halfway number 5, Jeanine Pirro. Jeanine Pirro is best known as Fox TV personality Judge Jeanine, but she got in a bit of hot water after former host of The View, Meghan McCain, revealed the worst guest she ever had on the show was Jeanine. Apparently during the interview she shouted profanities, questioned Whoopi Goldberg's contributions to black women, and even threw her microphone at Meghan. She accused the host of having Trump derangement syndrome, then Whoopi kicked her out of the building. To make matters worse, Jeanine Pirro then went on Sean Hannity's show later that night and made it seem like she was the victim. It was attacked by the ladies at The View. This made the ladies even more angry, and she was obviously not allowed back to the show. And at number 4, Aziz Ansari. Aziz Ansari and Stephen Stephen Colbert had a slightly awkward interaction while Aziz was on his Late Show in 2015. After Aziz released his series on Netflix called Master of None, Colbert had Aziz on the show to promote it. At one point, Stephen brought up that both men were from North Carolina, and it was a strange coincidence. Since Aziz is a champion of diversity in Hollywood, he decided to use this opportunity to make a point about diversity. Aziz replied, quote, "Stephen's the first late night host from South Carolina and the bajillionth white guy." Stephen responded, quote, "Right, exactly. You know, you've talked about not enough people of color, minorities on television. Is having you on my show, does that count at all?" Aziz responded that it did count and added, quote, "It's really diverse right now. It's like 50% diverse. This is an all-time high for CBS." And at number 3, Russell Brand. Chelsea Handler does not hold back about how she feels about other celebrities, and she savagely shaded Russell Brand when asked who the worst guest on her show Chelsea lately was. Russell had been on her show multiple times, and even though she likes him as a person, apparently he was a real pain on set. Specifically how he acted before the show, and all the demands he had about the green room before he was able to get on camera. Chelsea said, quote, "The only person who was a pain in the ass was Russell Brand. I would never want him back. He stopped all of our production schedules because he needed 3 espressos before he could even come on for his interview," Chelsea told Grazia magazine. If this is a common issue, he might have a hard time promoting his projects from now on. And at number 2, Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift was once known for her extensive dating history, and it seemed like any talk show she would go on would ask about her newest flings. The time Taylor went on The Ellen Show in 2013 was no exception, and Ellen kept pestering Taylor about if she was dating Zac Efron. In the clip, Ellen asked, quote, "You were here with your boyfriend Zac Efron last time, how's he doing?" The pair then got into a heated debate over whether Taylor dated Zac or not. For a preview on how cringy the conversation was, Taylor said, "I don't know, I haven't talked to him in a while because we didn't date." Then Ellen said, "Yes you did. Why do you deny it?" Taylor added, "Because we didn't." Then Ellen said, "Okay, so let's just talk about the new CD then. Which song is about Zac on the new CD?" Taylor is clearly super frustrated during the convo, and at the end she said, "This makes me feel so bad about myself. Every time I come on here, you put a different dude up there on screen." And finally, number 1, Trista Sutter. If you're not familiar with the Bachelorette franchise, usually the lead will go on the late night shows while the show is airing to drum up publicity. Sadly, some of these ladies are not too interesting, and the late night host will go through the motions until they have a guest that they actually want to talk to. This was the case while Bachelorette star Trista Sutter was on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. When Jay was asked if any of his guests completely bored him, he replied that he once had an awkward run-in with Trista Sutter. Apparently, right after Trista was on the show talking about The Bachelorette, she ran into Jay Leno in the parking lot and asked for a photo. But apparently he had no idea who she was and didn't realize that she was the woman who was just on TV with him. Apparently he was so bored by their conversation that he didn't even bother to remember what she looked like. Alright guys, that is all for the video. I've been your host Mackenzie Smith, and we'll catch you in the next one.